Welcome back to the Final Four table. I'm Coach Will.
I'm Coach Core.
Peter London.
Coach Mo.
Hey guys, the Elite Eight is over. We know who in the Final Four. It's no more guessing. Now it's all about who's built for the moment. Right now, who do you feel like had the biggest win? Who you feel like is championship ready? And was there any surprises? We'll start off with you, Coach Mo.
Well, my biggest surprise, not surprise, my biggest takeaway would be Texas. Just their dominance and the way they pulled away in that moment. I think all the other teams, we almost expected it. Outside of the UCLA game, was closer than most believed. But that Texas pull away, the chemistry they had, those kind of things were really great, and I enjoyed watching them play.
Pete.
I would have to go with biggest surprise, UCLA. They weathered that storm big time versus Duke, man. Duke was out the door, man. Duke was punching their ticket, and then they switched it up in the second half. They started utilizing bets to try to push that person up and get that over the head pass that really changed the game in that third quarter, man. They owned that third quarter, turned it around. But shout out to Carol Lawson. Game plan. They executed in the first half. They made shots. They just ran out a little bit of steam, and then Betts and the girls from UCLA took over. But that was a game right there.
Coach Corey.
I'm gonna go with UConn. They actually played a really good game. If you was watching them play, it was tough early. Just neutralizing Hannah Hidalgo. They look like a really championship team. Just the way Gino have them playing as a team and together, getting the freshmen to step up big. I think that's huge. So I'm gonna go with UConn.
That leads us right into our first segment, which is UConn. Pete, what makes UConn look like they just made for March?
The elite skill level, the spreading of the floor, the ability to knock down shots, and the tenacity that which they play. I think all of those things come together. Not looking past the fact they have the best player in college basketball right now, but for the most part, it is Gino Auriemma UConn basketball. He's been able to get the players that he needs to plug into his system that has him playing at this elite level right now, and it's looking pretty good.
Coach Mo, UConn is dominant as always, but was there any player or stat line from the team that stuck out most to you from this game?
So with UConn, it's a three-headed monster. AZ Fudd, Sarah Strong, and Blanco Quinones. All right, she had 20 points off the bench, and she didn't start one game this season, not one game this season, and she's the third leading scorer. So that's big impact for them. And then just their firepower, their overall firepower, getting turnovers. The turnover count was 18-14. That's not the problem though. The problem is the points off turnovers. The 19 points for UConn off of turnovers, and the only 7 for Notre Dame. So really, that was really the only disparity in stats that you could really find the gap. They shot fairly the same from 3-point, but overall, it was that the points off turnover that I think was the separation of the game.
Corey, what do you feel about UConn that makes them so dominant late in games?
Gino does a good job of preaching team basketball. As Coach Mo said, three-headed monster. When you have three different players scoring the basketball in the fourth quarter, that's big. That's hard to contain. That's hard to stop because there's nobody you can dang on just say, we're going to put all our focus on that one person.
Yeah.
They run good sets late in games that really set up their key stars. And one big thing is they do not turn the basketball over in the fourth quarter. And they score their most points in the fourth quarter. That creates stretches where teams doesn't score and you create big gaps.
So let's jump right into South Carolina, UConn's opponent. No surprise here. We're going to start with Pete. This is a team that's very close to you, Pete. You watch them at least 80 to 90% of their games. What are you seeing right now that's making them so dominant in the tournament that they wasn't during the regular season?
I'm going to say this, and this is something I thought about since the game. Agat McKeer is very much looking like Sanaya Rivers at the end of her freshman year. a little bit of there's a difference in what was being accentuated on the court from those players at this time in their careers. At this time, Sanaya Rivers, her freshman year, had a perfect, I don't want to say almost perfect, but perfect defensive performance in the national championship game in Minnesota against UConn. Paige Becker's, AZ Fudd, that group, right? Got McKeer. Raven brought her into the seatbelt game earlier in the season, but what she's doing offensively, 18 points off the bench in the Elite Eight the other night, really is doing a lot of things, driving, scoring from the mid-range, long range, really is a great compliment to Latson, Raven, Tessa Johnson, really is a great compliment to those perimeter players, and then playing some really elite level defense, running the floor, dropping a dime off to Joyce in transition the other night. That is a big key. And they talked about in the post-game press conference, Agat McKeer against UConn is the X factor in the game.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Coach Mo, we're going to come to you right now. What is it that you're seeing in their offense that's making them a little bit more fluent right now than what we previously spoke about?
I'll say the number one thing is they turned their defense into offense. That was the number one thing that kind of got the game back. They started off a bit slow. They went down early, but then they got some turnovers, some deflections, and got out to running. And then, like he said, Agat McKeer, I'm glad you said her name before me, but she put her head down and just took over the game at one point. You know, between her and Joyce Edwards, they both just were tenacious on the rebound. They were getting 50-50 balls and finishing in traffic. And that was the separator in the game. Those two just being tougher than everybody else and finishing around the basket.
Corey, what is you liking about this South Carolina rotation right now? Like Pete said, they have abundance of talent over there, and especially within that first 8 to 10 players, it's like, there's no drop off.
I like as a coach, when a coach can go into their bench, and they're being 8 deep. They're able to get different skill sets out of different kids, and they're able to play harder on defense because they ain't have to worry about a lot of foul trouble in situations. One of the big things that I like, it really stands out to me, is Joyce Edwards, how she's playing on the defensive end. I think she really got them going. A couple block shots, a couple deflections that really turned the game around and got them that spunk that South Carolina always has. So I'm really liking that defensive part of them. And we always say defense wins championship. Mm-hmm. And I'm interested in that South Carolina defense against UConn's three-headed monster.
All right, let's jump into the next game. And we're going to start off with UCLA. And I'm going to start off with you, Coach Mo. What did we really learn about UCLA in this game?
What we really learned about UCLA is that they're the most vulnerable team out of the top 4. I think that's what we learned. The other 3 teams took care of business. They dominated, even though South Carolina started off slow, but they showed their dominance and they took control of the game. UCLA had to pull one out. And I'm not saying comparison to the opponents, because Duke may have been the best opponent out there too, so I don't want to take that away. But UCLA struggled. They weren't down early. They struggled throughout the game. And I thought that was interesting. So if nothing else, out of the last 4 seeds, they're probably the most vulnerable.
Pete, what you think?
I agree with Coach Mo. They struggled at times. It didn't look like they were trying to throw the ball into the ocean and the ocean was dry. You know what I'm saying? It was like, what's going on here? But they fixed it. I mean, the strategy by Carol Lawson to try to front Lauren Betts really kind of backfired on her when Betts started really doing some good things. The passes got in better, and she went on a little bit of a run there. But the outside shooting was a little bit shoddy from UCLA. But if Duke would have been able to sustain, that would have been a heck of a finish in that fourth quarter. So I'm really looking forward to see how the other players for UCLA, outside of Kiki Rice, Lauren Betts, I really like what I hope I'm saying her name right, but Dugalich, what she really did in that game. She stepped up, made some big plays. Jaquez really played well, you know what I'm saying, in spurts, but they got to put that together, man. Texas ain't going to be no joke.
Yeah.
Corey, do you feel like UCLA should have been the number 1 seed?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
We'll just let it stay there. I don't think so. I don't think they should be.
Who should have been
but I don't have an answer of who could have been the 1 seed.
But I hear
I'm just
y'all
talking about how they play. That's it.
But you got to think about it. I hear y'all talk about them struggling and y'all watching them play through the game. But if you're watching the tournament, they were playing the hottest team. You could say one of the hottest teams in the tournament at that time. So their game is going to be a different stretch. What I was going to say is we learned that they could play through adversity.
Okay. Yeah.
With a different style, they can respond being punched in the mouth. That's what you learned about them, because they hadn't been down, but in the one game that they lost. So did they learn something from that one game that they lost?
Who they lose to?
Texas.
Texas.
Only loss, undefeated in regular season conference tournament.
Yeah.
I believe their record is like 36-1 right now.
Yeah, buddy. That's what they got
Pete,
next.
let's jump right into it. How deep is UCLA, and do they have enough for Texas?
I don't know if they're maybe 8 deep, but the talent level of the 8-9 players that do play in that rotation is not going to be as extreme as some of the other as Texas. I mean, so when you talk about UCLA's depth, they play a 6-7 maybe person rotation as long as they possibly can. But once they get to 8 and 9, there's a drop off in skill and abilities that's going to be able to beat a team like Texas. So there's not a lot of depth, but there is a very good set of talent, especially in that starting five. Experience, they showed the numbers during the game. You're talking about, I believe the number was like, of their seniors, 9,000 career points. I mean, there's a lot of talent there in that first 7 players, but the depth, I don't think that may hurt them on Friday night.
Coach Mo, who do you feel like is driving this UCLA team?
Lauren Betts. I mean, that's the answer. How they answered all their problems yesterday and everything. She had 23 points, and I don't think anybody else had double figures. Maybe there's one other person with double figures. I'll have to check that. But she's the driving force. If they can get the ball inside to her with her ability to pass out and finish with minimal movement and a quick time around the basket, they'll have success. But without that driving force, it's tough. They had 54 points in the paint yesterday. That's a lot of points. That's a full game's worth of points in the paint. And then 38 total rebounds to 26. They out rebounded them by 12. Usually the team that went the rebound battle by more than, I would say, 5+ wins the game. And that's where the game was separated at her dominance inside the paint.
Corey, piggybacking right off of what Coach Mo just stated, is UCLA talent driven or system driven?
I think it's a little bit of both, because the way Coach Corey preaches the defensive end and the high intensity on defense, you see that they get a lot of run out transitions. That's when they're really good. When Lauren Betts get a rebound, get a steal, they can throw the ball out. They get a lot of layups. I think Duke did a good job of not allowing that to happen in the first half. So you started to see them winning the first half. Second half, that kind of changed. They went back to what they really do, and they got a lot more transition. So that system, Lauren Betts, and like Coach Mo said, I think 2 other young ladies had double figures, and those
No, just one.
Oh, one.
Yeah, 15.
And one of those young ladies was not Kiki Rice. And Kiki Rice is a 15-point scorer. So, like, when you can win with her not scoring her average and you win by, I want to say, 12 points, I think the system is willing you through. So that's why I say a little bit of both.
All right, moving on to their opponent, Texas. No surprise here, them making it to the Final Four. I want to start with you, Pete. From a player standpoint, who do you feel like stood out the most for Texas, and who do you feel like would be the impact player in this Final Four game?
Throughout the tournament so far, I'm gonna, and I don't want to steal Coach Mo's thunder here, but he's been pushing Madison Booker, this whole time, and he is not wrong. Madison Booker, she pulled out a baseline turnaround over the shoulder KD. You see, that was
love that move.
Oh my goodness. But she has been leading the team. Rory Harmon, from a leadership defensively, running everything. A person who's not even looking to score at times, but it's never to a detriment of the team. I believe the first game against UCLA, Rory Harmon went for 26 points. And I think that Corey Close is going to have to look at that and say, hey, we can't play that whatever defense we was playing to allow her to go crazy like that on offense, because she's not even, most of the time, not even an offensive threat. But those are your two leaders. I think the player that is going to be, I want to say the mismatch, is going to be Justice Carlton. Sophomore forward, Justice Carlton, out of that Houston, Side Springs area. Absolutely has come on this year. Didn't play as much last year, but this year as a sophomore has put her mark in to say, hey, I'm not just one of the best players in Texas and the SEC, one of the best players in America. I think her and Joyce Edwards, who back in the day were considered the best two forwards in America when they were in high school, are going to kind of go up there, and put themselves next to Sarah Strong, who has put themselves as the number one player in college basketball right now. But those three are going to be three names over their last couple of years of college basketball that are going to elevate themselves above all the other forwards from their skill, ability, versatility. Justice Carlton, if Texas is going to walk away with this thing, she is going to need to have a monster weekend in Phoenix.
Coach Mo, you always talking about Madison Booker. But after watching this game, man, what did Texas show you about them as a team?
As a team, they showed me they're complete. Just him add Justice Carlton to the conversation on top of Madison Booker, on top of Rory, on top of Oldacre. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. On top of Oldacre. Size 6'6", girthy inside. And that's why that Betts matchup is going to be interesting with Oldacre and Betts, how they're going to battle inside for that position. But as a team, like I say, they were just so complete. Just they knew each other. Where there's so many passes where they were passing it before they were passing it, if you get what I'm saying. And they were catching the ball and it was hot off their fingertips to another open person. Things like that. And I just saw the team chemistry and even the sideline. I don't hang my head on a lot of sideline antics, but they just look so together and having a great time together. And that's what stood out to me. And then Rory, just the maestro. That's my new name for point guards like her. She's a maestro. We'll get to Olivia later, but just a maestro. She just orchestrating things and getting to the paint. Man, she made a play so good one time. She snaked in, drew the defense and kicked it to the corner for a 3. And she had 13 assists. She only took 5 shots. So
cooking. Roy Harmon cooking right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Corey, piggybacking off of what Pete and Coach Mo said, what are you really seeing? Is Texas the most dangerous team right now going into the Final Four?
Texas is the most dangerous team. So it's funny. Texas is a deep basketball team that kind of got an old school feel to them, an old Detroit basketball feel to it. Because if you watch them, they come off a lot of stagger screens.
Yes.
A lot of mid-range shots. They play a lot of rough and rugged defense. And when you say Rory is like Chauncey. Some nights Chauncey was killing. Some nights Chauncey would be dishing it. And it was like, you don't know what you're going to get. That's what made them a NBA, a championship team. So that's why I say they look scary. And to piggyback off what Coach Mo said, something really caught my eye. They're having fun playing basketball. They look like they love playing with each other. When you have your best player on the sideline and she rock starring it just because one of the other girls hit a 3, I think that's big. That's scary. That's something I always told my team. When you running and gunning and executing, you'll always have fun playing this game.
I want to jump into those games. Who we picking? Because this right now is probably the toughest games. And I really feel like this is where we start to separate as a crew. I'm going to leave the toughest game for last. And I mean the toughest game for Peter London. So let's start off with UCLA in Texas. Coach Mo, do I got to ask you this one? Because you always say I don't got to ask you. Do I got to ask you?
No, we're going with it, baby. We're going to the age time. Yes, sir.
Okay. Coach Corey?
I'm torn. I know a lot of people don't like UCLA, but I talked about UCLA early on when we first got on, and I really like the team. I think they can cause some matchup issues down on the inside. So, but I still got to go with Texas. Gotta go with Texas.
My God.
Where you at?
I'm going with Texas. It's not. I don't even think this is one of those, up in the air, toss it up type of thing. I think Texas is going to come out early and often with some crazy defense. And how, Mo talked about this. Kyla Oldacre matching up with Lauren Betts I don't think they're going to need to try to front. And even when they come off the bench with another girl, they've got multiple 6'4" plus girls that they're not going to try to be like, oh, we're going to front and allow you to get this pass. They're going to play her straight up. They're going to try to, what did you say?
No.
Detroit Piston her. They're going to try
Yeah.
to Rick Mahorn and Bill Lambier her
Yeah.
in regards to being
Yeah.
physical. And that, I think, is going to be Lauren Betts has been playing out of this world, first team All-American, Naismith finalist, all that stuff. But this is her money game. And I think that Vic Schaefer is going to earn his money on Friday night.
Madison Booker for me, y'all know what it is.
Let's
I'm
go.
going with them.
Let's
I'm
go.
going
Let's
with them.
go.
All right,
Wow.
Pete, we're going to save you for last. We're going to save you for
man.
last. I'm going to start off because I'm a true UConn fan. So, hey, I'm going for UConn. UConn versus South Carolina. Coach Mo, it's on you.
Oh, Don, I love you. And I'll say this. I'm in between. The way South Carolina won and the way UConn won clean. It was just cleaner. It just looked cleaner. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because South Carolina was a little more gritty and they took a little more bumps and punched them in the face. So I kind of see a contrast of style, more like technical versus more like gritty, hard nose.
So, UConn.
I'm going UConn. That hurt,
right,
man. That hurt a little bit. I hate to go against my girl Don. But, woof.
Hey, Don, all love up here, too. I'm just a true
All
UConn
love.
fan. Before you was coaching at South Carolina, and I'm just a true UConn fan. I'm going UConn. If it was overwhelming, South Carolina was better, I still would go with UConn. Coach Corey,
But undefeated. My bad. Undefeated UConn team. Who can go against that? Just to be honest with you. But go ahead.
Man, this is a heavyweight bout of coaches. This is the one you really want to watch if you're a coach. Young coaches aspiring to be in the spotlight, growing programs. You got the GOAT in Gino and the Mrs. GOAT in in Don. But one thing that I'm gonna say is I like what Don has, how she has Joyce Edwards playing. I'm really intrigued about the Sarah Strong and Joyce Edwards matchup. I'm a UConn fan, long diehard UConn fan, but I think the way Don is playing, they can get him, because if Latson gets hot, it's gonna be hard to stop her. That's gonna be a big piece. And I think they can throw a lot of different bodies at Sarah that can change the game in different ways.
Are you going with South Carolina?
Yes, I'm going with South Carolina.
I mean, you're no longer a UConn fan. Stay over there too. Maybe maybe us getting upset with the Duke UConn game. You now going against UConn, but we're talking about women's basketball, bro.
Yeah, I feel you.
Okay,
I
South
feel
Carolina.
you.
Okay,
I feel you. I mean, you gotta understand, like,
That's a tough matchup for Sarah
It's a
Strong.
tough matchup. It doesn't matter.
Yo, that's a
I
tough
don't think
matchup.
so. I don't think so, but okay.
She got the foot speed and possibly the strength. The strength is definitely on Sarah Strong's side, but the foot speed and the IQ.
The IQ is on Sarah Strong's side.
Agree.
Don gonna come up with a plan to get over the hump and stop Strong, Fudd, and the freshman. I don't want to screw her name up, but I think Don gonna come up with a plan with that.
Okay, so UConn, South Carolina. Ain't no middles, Pete.
Well, listen, everybody else already said it. This is a heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Ali Frazier type situation going on here, my friend. I'm going to say it like this. Being there the first time they matched up at the national championship in 2022 in Minnesota, being there to watch that game, I think this is a very similar type situation in regards to the talent that's on the floor and players and abilities. Just like I said earlier, I think Agat McCare, Joyce Edwards, and crew. One thing I will say about this is that what Dawn did the other night and played small for those long periods of time, she tried to go big and it wasn't working. She had to go small, and that left Joyce, Agat, Tessa, Tanaya, and Raven. And I think that five playing long periods of time is going to be a really good matchup for whatever UConn's going to have out there, right? I think that matchup is going to really dictate that South Carolina 5, plus if Elise Turner-Bees is able to come in do some, if Medina Okot is able to come and do some.
I agree.
But UConn is just absolutely. I mean, I've seen Gino play to Ali Zabel a lot the other day against Notre Dame. You know, she doesn't get a lot of run. Elite level shooter, not such a great defender, especially on ball defender, man to man. But Mo mentioned KK. You know, Corey mentioned KK. Unbelievable defensive ability. That point guard matchup to see who's going to be able to execute and get their teams into good shooting opportunities is going to be really key. Carolina girls hoops prime time matchup situation going on there. Two of my absolute favorite players I've ever been able to cover. That is going to be made for TV. I believe at the end of the day, they're probably going to cancel each other out in the stat sheet, but the impact that either one could make towards the end of the game to help win it. Corey, we may be outliers in the situation. I think that Dawn is going to be able to do something. They're going to be able to get enough shooting. And I believe at the end of the day, in a tight one, South Carolina is going to pull this out.
Peter
I didn't expect that one,
going
Pete.
with South Carolina.
I didn't expect that, Pete.
I did not expect that,
right now.
Pete. I didn't expect that, Pete.
These last 4 games from Agat McKeer, I had to go look up the stats on my girl Sanaya Rivers because the impact that Rivers had, I believe it was like 28 minutes. She only scored like 4 points in the national championship game. But defensively, that was a Paige and AZ team that was in Minnesota. You know, Olivia on Dada and some other people that were kind of, you know what I'm saying?
I know it, Pete. I know you added up your sleeve, Pete.
Y'all have anybody.
When I say that Justice Carlton is going to be a big player if Texas is going to win it, Agat McKeer is going to be her this weekend.
We got our picks. A big one for this episode with that Pete. Okay, Pete, I didn't see that one coming, but hey Mo, we together again, man. We gotta do this. We gotta go with you. We gotta go with UConn. I guess it's a 7-5-7, guys. Dog.
If this gets put out there, you know I got love for everybody in this situation.
No, man, you chose a side already.
Hey, Pete, you do know.
Will, this I don't like doing this stuff.
Hey, but look, man, I guess we'll be back on my birthday, if y'all guys don't mind coming on that night after the games. But this has been another episode, man, of the Final Four Table, man. I'm Coach Will.
I'm Coach Corey.
Peter London.
Coach Mo.
Let's get out of here, man, for this jump mess up. We got to go today.
Yeah.